So it is time for us to begin. And good afternoon, my dear students, teachers, parents, and our esteemed speakers. On behalf of Rajasthani Sammelan Education Trusts, Devi Prasad Goenka Management College of Media Studies, I, Saurabh Deshpande, welcome you all to this webinar titled Media Takes a New Dive, Careers and Opportunities. Before we go ahead, I request all to please rise for the national anthem. I request the IT to please render the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you. The genesis of this webinar came up from Dr. Ami Vora, principal of our college, and it was ably supported by our management. The objective is to guide the graduating students to future career paths with the clarity that many of them require. An interesting observation is that during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, one industry that has tremendously flourished is the media industry. The world unarguably is going to be a different place post the pandemic, and everyone would have to devise newer strategies to survive and to succeed. To throw some more light on this, we have with us here distinguished professionals from the field of media and communication, as well as some of our distinguished alumni who would be speaking on the future opportunities in media. I will proceed to introduce each one of them as their turn to speak comes up. I will now announce the commencement of the session, Media Takes a New Dive, Careers and Opportunities, by requesting our principal, Dr. Ami Vora, to kindly say a few words. Madam.
A very good afternoon to all dear attendees. On behalf of Rajasthani Sammelan Education Trust, President, Chairman Shri Ashok Saraf, the Management Committee of our set, on behalf of all the teaching and non-teaching staff of Devi Prasad Goenka Management College of Media Studies, I take this opportunity to welcome you all to the webinar titled Media Takes a New Dive, Careers and Opportunities. I also like to welcome all the panelists today who are distinguished in their respective fields, and I also welcome all their dear alumni to their alma mater. Before we commence the webinar today, I would like to tell you a little about our parent body, our set, which is a 71-year-old trust imparting education to 16,000 students with 14 institutions to its credit. They have schools in the Hindi and the English medium, a school which is an international school, a school which is also CBSE board. They also have a management institute, as in Durga Devi Saraf Institute of Management Studies, the very popular Ghanshyam Das Saraf College of Arts and Commerce, which is also offering self-finance programs, and a very special media school like ours, Devi Prasad Goenka Management College of Media Studies. DGMC, as we call it and is known, okay, offers undergraduate and master's program, and it also offers the AICTE approved program in postgraduate diploma in management studies with specialization in media and communication. In the undergraduate courses, DGMC offers the Bachelor of Arts degree with Multimedia and Mass Communication, popularly known as BMM, and also the Bachelor of Arts in Films, Television, and New Media Production, known as BAFT-NMP. We also offer the Master of Arts program in Communication and Journalism, MACJ, and a Masters of Arts in Film, Television, and New Media Production, MAFTNP. All said and done, it so clearly shows that DGMC is a very, very prominent media school in the city of Mumbai. I also take this opportunity to say that we are very fortunate that we are one of the few institutes which has a state-of-art infrastructure. We have a very dedicated studio floor with an inbuilt PCR room. We have a sound lab. We also have a lab with 23 Mac machines, which we popularly call the iMac lab, with all the latest software necessary for graphics, for 3D modeling and Maya available, which I think is the need of the hour in media schools. All our classrooms are equipped with projectors, with audio video displays and computers. We have a very good library with latest books installed for all students which they can refer to. Coming to our program PGDM, we all know, like Saurabh, my colleague, very rightly pointed out, that now COVID-19 has thrown us a challenge to become digital. We are all experiencing that there's a lot of disruption itself taking place in the arena of education. Everywhere, there are online teaching and online courses going on, and we are now meeting in a virtual space in a webinar. Okay. That's how digitized the world is becoming, and even education is returning to. So keeping in line with what tomorrow is going to hold for the coming graduates and postgraduates, we have redesigned and restructured our program of PGDM. The architecture is redesigned in such a manner that it takes up and is ready to accept and meet the challenges of the future. We have introduced subjects like augmented reality. We've introduced subjects like animation. We have introduced subjects like gaming, which is the need of the hour today. That's where industry is going to go 2 years down the line once you become postgraduates. All our experts here are definitely going to speak about what your careers and opportunities are in the field of media, in the field of advertising, and also in the field of communication. I leave that to them, but I would definitely like to say that at DGMC, we are just not offering undergraduate and postgraduate programs. I take pleasure in saying that from the academic year, we are also introducing a series of add-on certificate programs. We have planned 5 short-term certificate programs in the field of journalism. One of them is called Multimedia and Broadcast Journalism. The second one is Mojo Journalism, or Digital Storytelling and News Verification. We have Health Journalism and Data Journalism as another course. We have investigative journalism and cyber security for journalism as another certificate program. And the fifth program is business journalism and entertainment journalism. We have a combination of such short-term certificate programs introduced for journalism for all those students who want to take up journalism as their career and add these add-on certificate programs, which will equip them better to meet the industry. It does not stop here. DGMC also announces certificate courses in digital graphics. DGMC also announces advanced 3D animation courses. DGMC also announces a certificate course in mastering augmented reality. All said and done, we have also entered into a collaboration with the Film Institute, Auroville Film Institute, where DGMC and Auroville Film Institute together will be giving short-term courses on documentary filmmaking. Apart from this, it's not only all study. DGMC also has its own festival, the Media Ice Age. ICE, that stands in for information, C for communication, and E for entertainment. Ice Age. Media Ice Age, we popularly call it MIA. It is one of its kind, I would say. I take pride in saying this because our colleagues have designed this in such a way that it's just not all entertainment. Media Ice Age and MIA is encompassing everything that relates to media, right from panel discussions to workshops, to seminars, to events related around media, and even conclaves where we invite people related from the field of media, from change makers. So you find that it is just not a cultural festival like every other college would be having, but we are a special institute catering to media, and therefore we have a festival that is catering to the aspects of media, right from OTT platforms to radio jockeying to YouTubers. Okay, so we address all these areas of media in our festival, Media Ice Age. The PGDM program, I would say that our previous PGDM batch in their international immersion had gone to Egypt, and there was a program, they went to the University of Egypt, where they had a course that they took up with the University of Egypt. Misra is the name of the university, and they did a media program there. They shot films, they did presentations, and they were awarded certificate from the University of Egypt. So our international immersion is also not all play. It is international immersion in its right sense of the term, where you have a proper immersion taking place in the international scenario. The rural immersion that took place for our PGDM students, we had our students going into 2 villages in Pune, where they had their own entrepreneurship projects, where they immersed, where they brought rural projects to urban area, and they took our urban projects to the rural area, and they had a very nice marketing strategy and marketing program in the rural markets there. So we at PGDM and at DGMC ensure that all our PGDM's students are well grounded, they are well developed, and they ensure that whatever they need to project themselves, be ready to meet the industry. We are not only looking at academics, but it's more academics plus, which requires a student to be ready for tomorrow. With this, I rest my words and I request Saurabh Deshpande to take over the session.
Thank you, madam, for these encouraging words. I will now request everybody to lend me a patient ear as I explain how we go about this webinar smoothly. Please note that the mics of all audience members, that is the attendees, would be muted during the session, and they can communicate only through the chat boxes on Zoom as well as on YouTube. I will begin by introducing each speaker and then inviting them to to come forward and deliver the speech to us. And if any audience member wants to ask questions, they can do so in our chat box on Zoom and on YouTube. While the speaker is delivering his or her address, you will be presented with a poll, which you all are requested to take. Your questions would be collected and selected by my colleague, Professor Dolly Avti, and presented to our panelists for answering. Just before the webinar is about to end, we will send a link of the feedback form in the chat boxes. All attendees are requested to fill up the feedback form, which is mandatory to be filled up for the e-certificate to be received. Let me now introduce our first speaker to you. I request the IT to please play the presentation, the first slide of Dr. Amita Sehgal.
There are no slides.
Hello. Ranjit sir. Hello. Yes, please. So Dr. Amita Sehgal is an independent director at National Payments Corporation of India, NPCI. She is also a member of the Board of Studies of the PGDM program at DGMC. Dr. Sehgal is an author, an academician, a researcher, and she is also a trained yoga teacher. She is currently an associate professor and the head of the Department of Commerce and Management at R.A. Poddar Autonomous College of Commerce and Economics, and she has more than 35 years of teaching experience. She is also a visiting faculty at the Somaiya Institute of Management Studies and Research, and she had been a visiting faculty at Wellington Institute of Management and Research from 1994 to 2015. She is a member of three committees of the Reserve Bank of India, representing the depositors' rights as Secretary of All India Bank Depositors Association, Council member, Forum of Free Enterprise. She is also the chairman of the Advertising Examiners Panel at University of Mumbai, and she is also a member of the Syllabus Revision Committee for Advertising and Commerce at University of Mumbai. Dr. Sehgal would be speaking on the advertising industry and the challenges and the opportunities associated with it. She will especially speak in the context of the ongoing digital boom and the social media phenomena and how that is changing the entire scenario of the media and communication sector post-COVID pandemic. She would also touch upon the ethical use of social media in today's world. I request Dr. Amita Sehgal to please take over from here. Thank you.
A very good afternoon to everyone. Thank you, Dr. Ami. Thank you, Saurav, and the entire team of the prestigious Rajasthani Sammelan Education Trust for inviting me as a panelist at this unique webinar for students. Media takes a new dive, careers and opportunities. Future Shock, the Alvin Toffler book, was all about a certain psychological state of individuals and entire societies when confronted with too much change in too short a period of time. This pandemic epitomizes the state described in the book. As students, I'm sure you are all going through tremendous amount of stress due to this shock. Yet, it is important that we remain resilient and disciplined, learn to unlearn, relearn, and reinvent ourselves. A crucial aspect of this dramatic change is to keep planning your career. The question, top of the mind position for all of you, how do you, in these uncertain times, chart a career path for yourself? The first thing to remember that it is not for the first time, and yours is not the first generation that is experiencing such a situation. Industrial Revolution, the World Wars, the Great Depression, the plague, the freedom struggles of nations, the partition, India-Pakistan partition movement, all these posed huge struggles and challenges to the youth of those times. Your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents have surmounted such challenges and calamities and have successfully reskilled themselves to begin life and careers again. So it is very important that you continue to believe in your dreams, pursue your goals, and stay focused on your career path. This brings us to the topic of the day. What kind of career opportunities will open up in the field of advertising and media? How should you be ready to pursue these opportunities? A reality check. There is a contraction in media spends across all categories, especially travel, luxury, and lifestyle-related brands. Businesses are downsizing, and revenue streams are drying up. This is the current reality. This is the short to medium term reality. But in the long run, we will arrive at a new normal. And what is this new normal? I have put across 12 points regarding this new normal. And I've divided these 12 points under 4 categories, 3 in each category. First, I predict 3 important changes in the way we will work in this new normal. First will be cooperation instead of competition. Our entire world has become too competitive. And over the years, right from the time when you are in kindergarten, you have been conditioned to be very competitive. But youngsters now will have to change their attitude, because in this new normal, we will have to learn to accommodate. We will have to learn to accommodate each other, adjust with each other, because the options will be limited. And therefore, we will have to learn to cooperate, coexist, rather than do the kind of competition that we were used to all these years. A change in attitude regarding that will be necessary. Secondly, gigs rather than permanent jobs. Gone are the times where you would say that you joined a company and then you will be with the company till you retire. Times were already changing, but now the change is permanent. I think fewer jobs will be available on a permanent basis, and you will have to get used to contractual jobs, gigs as they're called, and you should be flexible enough to move from one gig to another. So that will be another new normal in the new work environment. And the third will be pivoting. Pivoting. What is pivoting? Pivoting is not just changing yourself, but it is finding out new ways to use your own skills, your experience. How can you cross over to the other side and use your experience and skills on the other side of the game? Now, what do I mean by that? If you may remember, when we had the 2008 Lehman Brothers crisis, suddenly there was a meltdown in the financial markets and traders found themselves without jobs. Now they had to reinvent themselves, go on the other side. Many of them started offering their services to the regulators. And they said that we could make very good, we could offer our intelligence to you on how to regulate the financial markets. And they created a new category, surveillance of financial crimes. They created a new category for themselves. And many traders found their jobs within the financial markets, but on the other side of the game. So as youngsters, you will have to learn to pivot and be on both sides of the game. The second category of changes, the three important lifestyle changes. So the first was the three important changes in the way you work. The second is the lifestyle changes. One, of course, we all are doing it right now, work out of home. That will be the new normal. So we will have to learn how to balance. As women, we'll have to learn how to balance making rotis and as well as doing a webinar. So that will be a work out of home kind of a scenario. We'll have to learn to live with that. In fact, that might make us more efficient. People are predicting that industry and companies will have huge either cuts, or they will ask them to work from home because they have to reduce their costs. Second will be a very interesting and important observation I have made, that close-knit families and joint families might re-emerge in the social scene. In my research, I found that children who are from joint families, who have grandparents at home, or they have an extended family at home, they seem to be more comfortable during this lockdown period. And our tendency to go out and escape from family, that there has been a whole generation where people have been just tourists. They're not living their lives. They're just tourists. As soon as there is a break, weekend, they just move out and they go away. So I think those things will be reassessed. People will want to spend more time with their families, and maybe joint families might be the new normal. And the third important trend will be lifestyle change, will be self-reliance. Home cooking, self-management through yoga, fitness, and so on will happen. And we will learn to become more and more self-reliant. This brings me to three important skills required by the youngsters to build their careers. In the new normal, companies will value three important skills. One, emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, which includes adaptability and courage. Emotional intelligence, which includes honesty, ability to overcome your baggage like jealousy, anger. Those will be very, very important. And the companies will look out for youngsters who have a higher emotional intelligence. Second will be your skill in risk management and cost and money prudence. Gone are the days where companies would give you credit cards and there would be hardly any check on your expense accounts. I think some are smiling here, so you know what I'm talking about. So what they're going to value now more is how you are doing risk management, money prudence, cost prudence, and you have to build. See, these don't come overnight. So we have to learn to value these qualities and bring those qualities into our lives. Only then the companies will value us. And the third important skill required in your career will be problem solving and critical thinking. So as youngsters, you will need to really not come with a problem, but come with solutions. So we are so used to getting into the mode of, running to our boss with problems, or, not really thinking through, leaving things to our internet, Google searches. So we have to change all that. We'll have to use our intelligence more to come up with solution-driven approaches. That will be very, very crucial. And finally, the 3 blockbuster career options. Saurav mentioned about that I will be talking about advertising and social media. Yes, definitely there's going to be, I just watched a very interesting ad today of Nike. I do not know if any of you have seen the latest ad of Nike. It's really worth seeing, the post-COVID ad. It talks about resilience. It talks about how we have to, they use different sports stars, and they said each time, each of them almost gave up on their careers, and then they went ahead and fought their way through and relaunched themselves. So time has come for us to be that kind of resilient people. It's a very beautiful campaign. And I think more and more advertising will go into the behavioral or the psychological aspects of how human beings, how each of us is reacting to this crisis. And several campaigns will emerge. And I think each of you as youngsters will find a career opportunity to think up innovative ideas on how facing challenges, facing pandemics, facing life-threatening situations, how brands can be your friends. That kind of a thinking will emerge. And as youngsters, you'll have to take it forward. So these 3 blockbuster ideas, which are already there, you're already working at it. The courses you're doing and the course the institute is offering already has it in their curriculum. But now it has become indispensable. One will be artificial intelligence. The LinkedIn Learning, that is their online education website, says that artificial intelligence is the top hard skill for 2020. And so everyone, whether they like it or not, whether they are into media or not, they'll have to learn about AI. Then, of course, you have big data analytics, which is the fastest growing segment, making sense, converting data into information and information into knowledge and knowledge into decision-making skills. All these things will require a lot of inputs from the curriculum and from the students. And of course, the digital and social media marketing, the search engine optimization, the search engine marketing, the email campaigns, how they're going to be used. All these things will be in high demand. Students, what you all do for fun, Twitter and Instagram and all those things that you do just for fun, they are career opportunities for you. And the institute can train you in all these career opportunities. You can convert your hobbies, a blog, you can convert a blog, you can be a social influencer, and you get paid for that. So there are huge opportunities out there in the media, in the digital world, where you can really experiment, where you can really innovate. And this is a time for you to take off so that you can really do something special for the media. As a board of studies member of the PGDBM course, when we were designing the architecture of the course, we included a mix of both the skills and the attitude training that is necessary for you to be career and life ready. And though we designed it, a year ago, it is exceedingly relevant today in these changing times, in these post-COVID times. It has a balance of soft skills, sensitizing students towards their social responsibility. They have a compulsory internship with an NGO. It also has those hard skills that are industry focused. All in all, it's a course that really will give you a head start for a career in advertising and media. So finally, is media taking a dive, or is it a leap into the uncertain but exciting future that is a new normal. A world that is more conducive to a work-life balance, a healthier, safer, less chaotic world. It is your generation, youngsters, that will decide. You are going to shape this new normal. And I wish you all the best. Thank you so much. Thank you for this.
Yes, thank you, madam. Thank you very much for your insightful take on this topic. So, there's a poll now. Has the poll been taken? Hello, IT can please can IT share the poll? Yes. Requesting all attendees to please take this poll.
Server support poll is on.
Sorry.
Poll is on. You can continue.
Okay, the poll is wrong. Okay. You can put the correct poll in, please. Poll is on. Okay. Yes. So I believe that you have taken the poll, and since we are running on a tight schedule, without wasting much time, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Sandeep Tarkas. I request the IT to please present us with the slide of Mr. Sandeep Tarkas.
Can you see the slide?
Yes, yes. So as you can see, Mr. Sandeep Tarkas has 30 years of working experience in diverse areas like oil production, sales, marketing, media, retail, sports, team management, and music publishing. Mr. Tarkas started an entrepreneurial innings with Songdio Media Limited, an online music publishing company that boasts the single largest resource of musical talent in India. He works as a consultant with the Future Group, looking after the Bengal Warriors Kabaddi team. He has worked with Future Group, handling diverse portfolios like group marketing, group media investment, telecom cum loyalty program, and Future Media. He has worked as the media head with Reliance ADA Group. He was also involved in three successful startups: Mindshare Fulcrum India, Mindshare Fulcrum Sri Lanka, and MPG. He is currently a director with the Audit Bureau of Circulation, and he was a management committee member of the Ad Club Mumbai. He was a director with the Market Research Users Council. He was the chairman of Indian Outdoor Survey and a board member of IIT Bombay Alumni Association. Mr. Tarka studied chemical engineering from IIT Bombay and business management from IIM Bangalore, and he has also been learning Hindustani classical music for over a decade. He has also been performing with light Indian music for many years, including with the IIT Bombay Alumni Y Point Orchestra. So, with such an experience and so many varied interests, I'm sure Mr. Tarkas can speak a lot on media management and the application of media in the future. So he will speak on the various aspects of media management, such as music as an online business, the different forms of media and entertainment, the the distribution market and channels for music, as well as how the sports industry will drastically change and would require professionals with specialized media skills. Sir will also elaborate on the management principles of sports with special reference to the Pro Kabaddi League. I request Mr. Sandeep Tarkas to please take over and address us.
Thank you, Saurabh. Uh, so I think when I was your age, I was the age of the participants here. We used to hear a line that change is the only constant in life. And that was a line that was told to us by our professors and our seniors. And like all cliches, it's a lie. Change is not a constant. In fact, change is accelerating in today's day and age. And uh, things are sometimes changing so fast that by the time you understand what is changing, that itself has changed. So I think the current situation, particularly with COVID-19, has presented probably one of the largest discontinuities. Uh, Life has been a continuation of discontinuities, as Professor Amita Sehgal also spoke about. Uh, but it's something that is now, I think COVID has probably brought the biggest challenge seen in at least the last 3, 4 generations that the world has seen. In terms of having to reinvent. And the one thing I can connect this with from my past experiences, we can talk about from our Puranas. There is a talk of Samudra Manthan, where in the Samudra Manthan, when you actually start changing the whole your uh, churning the whole of the sea. Initially, what comes out is all the bad elements. So, what came out first is the halahal, the poison, which was digested by Shiva, and eventually that led the way for the Amrit to come out. And I think this COVID situation presents a similar opportunity. Right now, we are seeing a lot of negatives with it, but I'm very optimistic. This will actually lead to a massive positive change in the longer run in our society and in our world. And I think your generation has to really lead the change and run forward with it. Uh, Professor Amit Trivedi spoke about the courses that you have, the various media management and communication courses she spoke about, uh, including graduate courses as well as postgraduate courses. The point is that actually I think, and Professor Sehgal made a reference to that, Dr. Sehgal, when she spoke about the fact that you're not the careers that you guys will experience will be vastly different from the careers that we experience. I think in terms of one gigs, she spoke about gigs and pivoting, and some very interesting ideas were there in that presentation. So I think in a scenario like that, even if you qualify for media and for communication as a specialist, you need to know a lot more about lot many more industries, because it's the application. This is the service industry that application of which will be very useful in other industries. And with that view, I thought speak about the sports industry and what kind of opportunities that presents to people who either do a general MBA or specifically if they've done something in communication area. So I would request Saurabh to put up my presentation. If that's difficult, then I can put it up myself as well. Saurabh, would you be able to put up the presentation?
Yes, I request the IT to please put up Mr. Sandeep Tarkas's presentation. Ranjit sir, please.
Yes,
Be
yes,
useful.
yes.
Yes, sir.
Oh God.
Can I can also
I
share
am
that. I
there.
mean, I have. Yeah. Anyway, so talking about while the presentation comes up, I'll just talk a little bit around the industry of sport. I think not many people realize that it's probably one of the largest. Uh, when you start looking at the entire sports ecosystem and what goes into it, it actually encompasses a much larger milieu, much larger opportunity than what we traditionally look at sports as. So apart from being the biggest entertainer, in fact, I remember one of the studies that I had done with a group of international, colleagues. That time I used to work for a multinational
मैडम एक
advertising
दो मिनट
agency.
दीजिए, वो क्यों नहीं लोड हो रहा है पता नहीं।
Okay, I'm unable to share because you have disabled my sharing. So as I was saying that when you look at the sports as
विशाल नागर, एक मिनट मैडम।
can you put yourself on mute so I can continue talking, please? Ranjit, can you put yourself on mute? Hello.
Yes, Ranjit sir has put himself on mute, sir. Sandeep sir, you may
Okay.
continue.
Okay. So yeah. So we did a study to figure out what are the most viewed media properties in the world, and it should not come as any surprise to anyone that uh, out of the top 20 programs in that list, 19 were live sports events. So sports is by far the biggest entertainer. Particularly live sports is something that love to watch. It has a lot of positivity around it. So it is, and in the post-COVID world, I expect that sports will actually play a major role in the resilience theme that Dr. Amita spoke about in Nike talking about that. I think you'll see a lot more of that coming up as people start turning this into positive. Like I said, after the halahal and the wish has been digested, the Amrit will start coming out, and this is what it's likely to be. And I do believe personally that sports will have a very large role to play there, and that's what my presentation talks about. So can we? Should I try and share it from my this thing itself?
Yes, Mr. Tarkas, I think you can try and do it from your end.
Okay. It's come. Yes, can you put it on show, please? Yeah. Okay. So coming to talking about sports and opportunities in sports, and I think it'll be like I said, while you're pursuing, you guys are looking to pursue courses in media and communications, it'll be important to look at a particular industry and see how it applies here. Next, please. Next slide, please. Okay, like I was telling you, it's the fastest growing industry with many exciting opportunities, and opportunities really cover a very vast spectrum. So it's about communications on one end, technology, very specific skill-based opportunities, media jobs, creating podcasts, blogs, and so on and so forth, specialized content about sports, and so on and so forth. Next, please. So this is very simply, I mean, this is a single slide on kind of careers that one could pursue in sports. And the ones I have circled are the ones that would be open to any student of the kind of courses that we are talking about. So, if you're specifically interested in sports and you have, interest that continues, goes beyond your academic life, you can become a referee or a manager of a team or a program administrator or a director of sports or something like that. There are lots of opportunities for people with engineering bent of mind uh, as analysts as a physiotherapist or a sports physiologist and so on and so forth. Uh, there are a lot of marketing related opportunities. I think sports, like I said, one is a simple thing of marketing a sports particular this thing. So marketing agent or a sports journalist or a sports photographer or such opportunities. I would today focus more on the not just the jobs as such, but the kind of entrepreneurial options which are abundant in this industry. And I would just want to highlight a few of them. I've classified them in 7 different vectors. So I'll talk about that. Next, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Can you please move to the next slide? Ranjit,
Yes, sir, we are trying to get in touch with him to request him to go to the next slide.
I request all to please bear with us. The IT will come back with the next slide.
well, this is through my life, I've been to many seminars and presentations, and we've never had a situation where everything went without a glitch. So if a small glitch has come up, it means that we are doing well. I think
Sandeep, if you can just speak
no,
without.
they've.
Yeah, you can share the screen. You,
I can't share. They've blocked my screen
there it
sharing.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so like I said, we're talking about the sports entrepreneurship vectors. Yeah, go to the next slide, please. Yeah, next slide, please. You're going back. Next slide, please. Yes, the one after that. Next slide, please. Yeah. So, like I said, I've broken them down in different vectors. There are 7 different vectors. So, there is first opportunity, which is the area of infrastructure. And infrastructure does not, it typically puts grand visions of very large uh, programs that we put up. But I'll just talk about a few of them, which are very interesting, and all of you could pursue that. The second bit are creative opportunities, which is about creative opportunities, also about creating concepts or aggregating content or distributing content in some manner. The next one is skill-based opportunities, manufacturing, and finding technology ideas. So I'll talk about each of these and kind of take you through what it means. Next, please. Okay, infrastructure-led businesses. Typically, I think when you look at infrastructure, you think of large stadiums, and those obviously will remain the jobs of very large builders or very large companies or governments typically. But there are smaller ones like gyms, creating gyms or arenas for sports, arenas for specific sports. For example, you can just create small arena for shooting, and that's become quite. Shooting ranges have become quite the rage. Uh, you can create a small arena for maybe just aerobics. You can create a small arena for any kind of sport idea that you think is close to your heart. A yoga center, for example, is something that becomes a very viable and doable option for most people. A skating arena, which would be a little larger, but yeah, massage therapy center, very simple idea, and the people who have kind of pursued this ideas some very interesting chains which have come up in this area. There are sports bar. You can be a sports bar owner. You can start a sports bar, or you can have an online platform for distribution or disbursement of content. Next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, the creative ideas that I was talking about, I think I've just listed a few. There are many, many more that you can talk about. But for example, a sports photographer, which is somebody, for example, when we travel as a team, and ours is a professional team which uh, takes part in the Pro Kabaddi League. When we travel, we always travel with a team photographer who's with the team at all times, and he's constantly looking to create stories. So he's not just a photographer, he's somebody who is also creating content. He's picturing things right there and then, thinking about what context to put it in, then putting it up on our social media handles, and creating stories around the brand and the conversations with its this thing all the time. There is action photography. There are people who just love to kind of really be there at the action, capturing the right moment, because it's very often, all of us know that pictures talk about things a lot better than words. Pictures can express things much better than words. And sometimes this action photographers come up with real gems. And we have the kind of massive bank of content that we create to that, it as something that lasts us for a year. Video editor. In fact, a video editor is something that, like I talked about, the photographer and video editor in this case was merged into one. We created, he would keep creating this content, keep churning them, and keep posting them. A sports blogger, a lot of people actually love to talk about their take on sport, and people follow that. I think, again, Dr. Amita spoke about the fact that there is, through social media, there is a huge opportunity for you to tell your story and for people to listen to it. There are people will follow your story. So if they like your take on sports, then it's something that they would look up to and look after. And that can make you a celebrity. It can make you a major icon in the world of sports. Next slide, please. There are skill-based options which are specific if you have specific skills in that area and interest in that area. So I would not really spend too much time on this, because for a general MBA person, this may not, for a general person who wants to pursue management career, this may not be the best options. But I would just kind of run through the list. So we always have, and this actually I put up this slide because through my journey of the last 6-7 years that we have interacted with a lot of physios. I met a physio who's also an MBA. So he did his MBA, but he wanted more out of life, and then decided to do his physiotherapy course. He went to Australia, pursued a course, and came back because that's what he really wanted to do. So which is why I just thought I'd put this up as one of the options. Next, please. And yoga instructor, in fact, Professor Ami was saying that Dr. Amita is also a yoga instructor. So you can be a yoga instructor, continue doing that in addition to everything else that you do, and that kind of adds a different dimension to you. You also live a far more peaceful life as a result of that. Yeah, next slide, please. Manufacturing is a very interesting area, and particularly I think there are lots of if you have an idea to manufacture something, there is lots of help available from various government agencies to be able to help you do that. So in sports, there are 4 different kinds of ideas. I think first is just manufacturing sports equipment. Now this is a specialized thing, and if you have interest in that, then you need to really get into it deep, and you can create a company that makes precision sporting equipment, because it's a very deep science. However, if you can make sports apparel, which can just be sometimes a light-hearted take on sports, it can be something which can be serious. So it's up to you. But sports apparel itself is a huge manufacturing need today. I think every parent wants their school children to participate in sports, and there is a constant need for sports apparel. Most of the parents would want to, particularly ones who can afford it, would like to go for branded stuff, which brands that they know about. But there is an opportunity here to create a sports apparel brand which is focusing only on the children, for example. I mean, that's just an example. Next is sports merchandise and memorabilia. I think this is a massive, massive opportunity. It's a very tiny market in India right now because I think our laws are such that sports merchandise gets copied very easily. So, in fact, one of my friend jokes about it, and he says copyright in India means right to copy. So, it is a it is actually a something which is uh, but it's a market that's really opening up now. The laws are getting tightened around it, and there is a huge opportunity there. And finally, there is sports ancillary equipment. So, for example, kabaddi is played on rubberized mats, and there are only some three manufacturers in India who make that mat. It's a very simple this thing. It just they make specific, and those mats are used for wrestling. The mats are used for kabaddi. They're used for many for Coco, many of the sports as well. Uh, there are boxing rings being manufactured by same guys, boxing gloves, and so on and so forth. So there is opportunity galore in this area. Yeah, next slide, please. Uh, then there is, of course, the technology-led ideas. So there is sports analytics, which is a very fast-growing field. It's something that is really. In fact, I came across this firm. It's a startup from. So there is an Australian guy which has started a company called that I used to buy video analytics software from. That company was 2 years back or 3 years back was taken over by an startup, American startup from Stanford graduates, who actually bought over that Australian guy who was the one-man operation, and he got a good value. He exited the business. This company has primarily set up its centers in India. What they do is video analysis. So even a let's say football game happening in America in a school. So a school coach on his iPhone takes a video of that thing, sends that video back to the center in India, which because of the time difference, they work during our day, which is their night, and they code that particular video. So every frame is coded into various, there are, for example, whether it's a particular kind of defense or particular kind of offense, all of that is coded into it. After that, the coach just has to, and which player was involved, etc., etc. So every frame you like attach 4 or 5 or 6 fields to. You'll just type those in and send it back. So in the morning, so coach sends it yesterday's match. The next morning, he gets a fully analyzed video back, which he can specifically send. So to every student, he can send his own video. He's saying this is what you did, and this is what you did right, or this is what you did wrong, and this is what you need to work on. Or if you see your swing here was not good, maybe you need to work on this particular aspect. Your angle was not correct, and so on and so forth. Sports analytics is really massive opportunity, and a further fine-tuned aspect of that is sports science. When you get into studying specifics of human body and saying how far. So this starts out typically as academic projects, but they become huge business opportunities as time goes on. Online gaming, you have seen a lot of online gaming ideas and betting. I'm using the word betting loosely. In India, betting is not allowed, but things like Dream 11, etc., are basically betting in another name. It's a skill-based betting, which is allowed. So you pay 32 rupees to a game, and you choose your team, and if your team wins, you can stand to win lakhs. But it's a huge, beautiful business idea which is done really well. Sports simulation is something that is, I think, very often you can learn a lot by looking at simulation of something. And uh, I've been to a lab which has been set up by it is called the Rahul Dravid and the Prakash Padukone Institute. So they've actually set up this entire large equipment where everything from your gait, so how you stand, how you walk, uh, it analyzes every single thing. It analyzes your where are you putting pressure from your foot. Is it the right way of standing? Is there any correction required for that? Uh, how's your arm movement, etc., etc. It basically corrects a lot of these things. If you correct this early in life, then the chances are that you'll do a lot better as a sports person in the future. So this kind of thing also becomes a huge opportunity. And finally, there is particularly with this COVID situation, we are going to be in a situation where I think going to stadiums might not be viable for a while. And even if you go, the experience won't be good. I don't know if you saw the pictures of people traveling by the airlines yesterday, and I would hate to travel like that. I mean, it was more like checking into the airline was like checking into an ICU. So, and you wouldn't want to do that. People won't enjoy that. So, if you create these immersive viewing experiences for people, that also is a huge opportunity waiting to happen. Next slide, please. So I think with that we come to all those are the ideas, some of the entrepreneurial ideas that exist for you. So I think like Dr. Amita said, it's your generation which has to basically realize this dream of our country and this world. So go forth and shine. The world is waiting for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Your talk was most enriching. I will now bring in an alumnus of our college, Miss Anushka Shetty, who completed her PGDM program in 2016. I request the IT to please play the slide of Miss Anushka Shetty. So, Miss Anushri Shetty was a student of our PGDM batch from 2014 to 2016, and currently she is a media professional with over 3 years of experience in traditional media planning. She currently works with Omnicom Media Group and handles brands like TikTok, Sipla, and PokerStars. I request Anushri to please take over the mic and deliver her speech.
Firstly, I would like to thank all of you for having me over here. It is it gives me immense pleasure to come back to the institute that has given me so much, and this is my way of repaying whatever I have learned, and whatever I am today is because I have gained a lot of experience and knowledge at DGMC. So, like Sir said, I am a traditional media planner. I handle clients like PokerStars, Sipla, TikTok. So, what is media planning? People usually, only talk about the glamour bit of media, the news, but there is a lot that goes behind it. There are multiple divisions that are there that help you bring out whatever you see in front of your eyes right now. And the media landscape has been changing, and like all of the eminent personalities on this panel have said, that the media landscape has seen a huge change because of COVID-19, and all of us have experienced it as well. If you can see channels like DD, which were not even being viewed by all of us, right now all of us have gone back to family viewing, and we are sitting and started watching Mahabharat and Ramayana. All of this has given a boom, while the spending capacities has come down across categories, like ma'am rightly said, but people are still investing. And there are brands like Amul who have capitalized on this and made optimum use of it. So now recently there was this video where a small child was singing the entire Mahabharat song, and so innocently she has even gone ahead and said that Mahabharat presented by Amul, co-powered by Hire. So that is the impact that advertising has on children as well as individuals. So what is my job? My job right now is to just lure you into doing that last action. So go buy that product, go visit the store. That is what I do. So while I had back in 2014, when I was trying to figure my life out as to what should I be doing, DGMC has helped me in immense ways, because the curriculum is such that you get to experience everything, be it be it advertising, be it production. We get n number of opportunities that are provided by our professors that help us understand what is the best for us. So it helps us play to our strengths. Had it not been the exposure that we have, that I got, and even my batchmates, I can say, because most of us have been placed in good organizations, and we are having a very good life as of now, all thanks to the institution and the faculty. So had it not been for the experience that we have got over the period of 2 years, I don't think we would have been able to take these decisions. So, like ma'am was saying, we have got internships in every semester. It is necessary for us to understand where our strength lies. Once you get into an organization and you start doing your job, and if you don't like what you're doing, you do not have a chance to say, chal yaar, let me skip, I'll try something else, let me try my hands on something else, let me see if I am good at that. But doing an internship across different departments will definitely help you understand what is meant for you. So the course at DGMC helps you do that. That is precisely why I understood that media planning is meant for me. Now, what is media planning as such? Today, like I said, I'll repeat myself, it is about me luring you all to take that last action. So I am the person who will serve you ads constantly across digital platforms and remind you that, hey, I am over here, you forgot me in your cart, just go buy it. I would be that same person who would be displaying my ad on an OTT platform while you're watching your most favorite series, and you would get bugged that, hey, what is this? Yeah, these people are serving me ads. So yeah, I am that person, because I want to constantly hammer you saying that go buy it. Why have you left it? And it is not only restricted to viewing OTT, it is also restricted to gaming, like even say a Ludo King or a cricket game. Nowadays people are sitting and playing a lot of games with their family because of the current situation, and we have not even left that as an opportunity to come and badger you all with our communication that go buy the product. So yes, that is what I have been doing, and it gives me immense pleasure. And media strategy, number crunching, all of this is very important. If you do not understand what your consumers are doing, and if you're not able to be there at the right place at the right time and give that communication to them, your entire the exercise of selling your product would go waste. So having all of this knowledge is of utmost importance, and the curriculum at DGMC is highly robust. I just got to see the new curriculum that ma'am has designed, and I think that pretty much sums it all. uh, Big number, big data analysis, data crunching, all of this is what we people do day in and day out. There are softwares that help us understand what you all are watching, how you all are watching, what is it that a particular TG loves to see, what is it that they don't like to see. Depending on all of these analysis is what brings out the best media plan to reach all you guys and help us to sell the product or the communication, or just have an interaction and spread that awareness to you all. So yes, that is what I do. And I think whoever even when I had started looking at this as a field, it was very difficult for me to convince my parents, because it is media for them is late nights, glamour, just ये अच्छा नौकरी नहीं है. That is what people will usually say, अरे ये तो मीडिया में काम करती है, ये लोगों का क्या काम होता है, बड़ा चढ़ा के बात करते हैं. But media is beyond that. It is not just this. Like I said, it is a lot of data crunching, it is a lot of analysis. You need to get into the mind of the consumers to understand what is it that will help them turn and help go buy that product or go do that point of action that you all want them to do. So to understand all of this, it is highly important to expand your horizons, seek experiences in each and every field that is available in terms of the course curriculum. It will only help you build your knowledge and also help you strengthen your existing skills. It is necessary to play to your strengths. If you do not play to your strengths, then you wouldn't be happy about doing what you do. Like they say, if getting up and doing your job doesn't give you that happiness, then it is not the right field for you. So in order to understand that, you should be having complete understanding of what you're getting into, and courses like these only help you realize that better. So yes, that's about it pretty much from my side.
Thank you so much, Anushri, for sharing your experiences with the advertising industry, particularly in the field of media planning and buying, and as
Thank you,
well as your
Sandeep.
memories with with your memories with your alma mater. We shall now go to our next speaker, Mr. Vishal Longbet. I request the IT to please play Mr. Vishal Longbet's slide. Yes, Mr. Vishal Longbet has led businesses across consumer products, media, and entertainment in both online and offline spaces. Mr. Vishal Longbet has worked with leading consumer brands like Pepsi and Kodak, and he has also worked with leading media brands like The Times of India. He has led in movies India operations, and he has also co-founded a branded content startup. He currently works as a strategic consultant for new entrants into the online space. Mr. Vishal Nongvet will talk about the entertainment industry with regards to movie marketing in the post COVID 19 scenario. He will also throw light on the career opportunities in the animation industry and explain how India is an outsourcing market for animators. I request Mr. Vishal Nongvet to please come and take over the mic.
Thanks, Saurabh. It's great to see so many people. There's over 100 attendees today. Can I have my presentation up, please?
Requesting IT to please do the needful. Thank you.
Okay. Traditionally, or rather, well, 20 years back when I started my career as a wide-eyed fresher doing my first job, the entertainment business was something which we would associate with music, movies, television, radio, right? I mean, it was fairly restricted to these 4 or 5 sectors. Today, you've got gaming, you've got VR, you've got augmented reality, there's branded content. The lines are very blurred today. And then services, right? Content services themselves today aren't restricted to entertainment alone. You have everyone from banks using content to speak to their customers. It's not just entertainment anymore. It's actually become the business of content. So I'm not going to call it entertainment. I'm going to call it the business of content because that's a little wider. Can I have my next slide, please? Okay. So the global GDP last year grew by an estimated 3.3 to 3.5%, depending on which report you're reading. India was, well, maybe twice that. But look at the entertainment business, right? The entertainment business has actually forecast, I mean, the last forecast was 13.5% CAGR over the next 5 years. This is between 2019 and 24. That's double the GDP growth projected for India, which has even gone lower now after COVID. So globally, we are expecting negative growth this year. In India, well, we might just be positive, but this business is not going to stop growing, right? Currently, people are talking about the lack of advertising. It's a short-term thing, right? Because advertising does fuel this industry. Having said that, the number of subscriptions, the amount of people actually getting into consuming content has been going up in the last few months. People are stuck at home, nothing better to do. You're either watching something on television, you're watching something on your phone, you could be watching on your laptop. Somewhere or the other, someone out there is discovering content in a new form. There are people actually discovering the internet today. India actually has two-thirds of India still isn't on the internet, and that actually is a huge opportunity. It's the biggest potential market today in the world. China almost there in terms of penetration. The US, the rest of the West, those are saturated markets. Consumption is still going to go up over the next 5 years over here. So being in India, this is a great industry to be in. Over the past few years, access to content with new players like Jio coming in with cheap internet plans, that's gone up. Mobile and internet penetration has been growing. What makes this such an interesting industry for India over the next 10 years is that imagine the fact that if you have close to 400 million people today on the internet, that number could be 800 million somewhere in 2030. This next decade is actually where this growth is going to happen. And the first thing that a person does when he or she gets an internet plan is probably download a game, right? And that is something which happens. People have discovered gaming. People have discovered so many different kinds of content. You're watching YouTube. My dad, when he first got his smartphone at the age of, when he got his first smartphone at the age of 65, discovered YouTube. And today, 5 or 7 years later, he watches more YouTube than any of my friends or me, right? I mean, so it doesn't matter what age you are or when you discover the internet. What you discover through the internet is content. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay. There are three broad areas where one can look at making a career within this industry. Now, I'm talking about the content industry as a whole. On the right, what you see are very, very familiar brands. This is the demand side. This, as a consumer, you either watch stuff on television, so Star TV, Sony, Z. These are all very, very familiar brands, right? You go to a cinema theater, you watch films over there. That's again retail. You can actually call this the retail side of the entertainment business or the content business. Then today on your phone, your laptop, it's the digital side of distribution where you could be listening to music on Spotify, you could be actually learning a new course on Byju's, or it could be educational content, it could be movies, it could be music, it could be podcasts, different kinds of content. On the supply side, you have two, that's on the left, you have two different and again, broad categories of companies where you can make a career. On the top, you see again, a bunch of very familiar brands, Warner Brothers, Yash Raj, DreamWorks, people like T-Series, Fox Searchlight. These are all companies that are well known for creation of what I would call intellectual property, right? They make movies, they make music. These are companies you're aware of. What's interesting is the services business in India. Brands like Prime Focus, Prana, Toons, Tata Elxsi. A lot of people do not know about the backbone of this industry. These are specialized services like animation, VFX that are offered to people like Warner Brothers and Yash Raj, right? So a lot of stuff is actually made in the background, both by Hollywood, Bollywood, whichever film industry in the world. A lot of that actually gets done by companies like these, and a lot of them are in India. Now, I'm going to talk about this in a lot more detail on my next slide. But before that, what I want to actually speak about over here is that there are companies that are making content for multiple front-facing companies, right? So Nazara Games is something that, or a Riot Games who makes League of Legends, or a King Games who makes Candy Crush. A lot of the coding actually happens in-house, but a lot of the animation actually happens through happens at smaller studios. And what you're seeing on your screen could actually be made by someone by someone sitting at Prime Focus for someone like King Games, and it ultimately ends up on your phone. Companies like Dream11, Nazara, they're becoming familiar brands amongst mobile users. That's how the supply side of the business is changing. Most people speak of television and films when they speak about the entertainment industry, and there's enough information available on the internet on that. I'm not going to actually get into that too much. What I will speak over the rest of this small session is 3 small and fledgling industries that are growing, but are pretty significant, and the growth is great, right? So we're going to look at that next. Can I have my next slide, please? Okay, let's talk about, can I have you've skipped one slide. Can you go back, please? Yeah, okay. Animation, VFX, and post-production, right? Now, this also includes companies that are providing virtual reality and augmented reality services. It all sits under a VFX umbrella today for practical purposes. Now, content services is dominated by VFX, animation, post-production. These are specialized services that require specialized infrastructure and a very, very highly trained workforce. Otherwise, everyone would have been doing it, right? There wouldn't have been a demand for something like this. An estimated 60% of India's economy today actually rides on the service sector, and IT services still remains the biggest part of this sector, right? So India is already a big outsourcing hub. Now, when you talk about outsourcing, you think of India as a market with call centers and BPO in the IT sector, where people sitting and doing coding for a bunch of people sitting abroad. No, in this industry, animation, VFX, these are the kind of services that people are providing to people sitting abroad. Like I said, it could be Riot Games sitting somewhere in, let's say, Dubai, and code is being written here in India, or animation is getting made over here in India. While one is sitting under the IT services business, the other is essentially what I would call the entertainment or the content services business. A lot of post-production work, especially from Hollywood, gets done in India. I had shown you a couple of companies on the previous slide. Prime Focus was one of them, right? How many people know that Prime Focus 20 years back when I started out in this industry, it was a small single studio in Bandra Khar. They were doing, we would get our music videos, post-production done over there. We had things like smoke and fire. You'd sit down with an editor, get a music video out. When I was working in the music industry, today, it's got over, Prime Focus does over 2,000 crores in revenue. They do a lot of post-production work for large Hollywood studios. Prana is another company like that, which I think started in 2005 with a small office in LA and a bunch of coders and animators sitting somewhere in Goregaon, right? Today, that company can actually boast about being one of those companies that did the maximum VFX for a show like Game of Thrones. So these are things that people don't know. A lot of stuff actually gets done in India. It's a massive industry. Now, careers in this space, right? You could be looking at careers in sales and marketing as well, because these guys are always looking for new business, new clients. If you've decided to do, let's say, one of the courses that DGMC offers, like an animation, you could actually get into what I would call a vocational trade over here. With the new rules post-COVID, you could be sitting at home and working as well. But if you're someone who's decided to do an MBA, there's sales and marketing, there's operations, because you're talking about large shop floors over here. And of course, legal, I mean, there are a lot of specialized fields within this industry that you could also pursue. This industry is growing at about 16% year on year and is expected to over the next 5 years. The growth is not going to stop because outsourcing will continue, content will keep getting made. If you look at trends today, special effects are not just for movies, television shows have special effects. OTT, with OTT platforms now, the kind of shows that you're seeing are literally of the same production values that a lot of movies are. So the industry is only getting bigger. There's a very, very highly trained workforce, which is expanding very rapidly in this country. If you're looking for a management job over here, it's a great place to be because you could be managing large teams over here going forward. Now, there are the future, people talk about the future being virtual reality. Yes, it's one of those things that could actually make this industry take a huge leap forward. We really don't know how adoption is going to happen, but if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in the next 5 years. It's something you would want to watch and see. Next slide, please. Okay, gaming. I saw a bunch of questions on gaming, so I'm going to try and answer some of those as well as I'm talking. Gaming is probably the most exciting of sectors to get into in India. Firstly, because we're at a stage when a lot of people are getting onto smartphones. I've already spoken about that. People are getting onto smartphones for the first time. They're discovering the internet. They're actually seeing a mobile game for the very first time. They're discovering the joys of gaming and the addiction, right? It's a very, very addictive kind of content to actually be producing for people. Secondly, because it's a sector that still attracts investors, as an entrepreneur, it's probably one of the easiest and best businesses to get into if you have a great idea. If you have a great idea, you want to execute it, the barriers are very low. It's easy to get investors. but it all depends on having a great idea. It's probably the most rewarding of businesses because, again, if you have a great idea, you manage to get an investor, you put it out there, you could become like a millionaire overnight, right? But there are hundreds of stories of people making it big in gaming overnight, right? So, and you'll keep reading about stuff like this. However, like not everybody is cut out for entrepreneurship. There are careers that are being built over here. The kind of careers you could look at again would be mainly sales and marketing over here. You could, as games get bigger, given that most of the gaming that's coming out of India is actually casual gaming, rather than the massively online multiplayer games that you see across the world, India is still 98 to 99% dominated by casual games. You don't have too many people playing large games, right? So the IP rests in India. The companies are based in Bangalore, Bombay, Delhi, wherever, Gurgaon. These people are looking at revenues through advertising, which means you're going to have a large sales team out there trying to get brands on board. If you're on the marketing side, you'll be looking at expanding the user base. So these careers do exist within this space today. On the technical side, there are a lot of jobs with coding. There are jobs with animation. If you decide to actually take up animation as a course, DGMC also does offer courses in animation, as Principal Vora spoke about earlier. Yeah, it's a 6,000 crore industry today, and it's projected to grow 4 times in the next 5 years in 2019 to 24. 4x growth. These are not small numbers we're talking about. It's an annualized growth of about 32%, which makes this the fastest growing industry in India. It's a very interesting one and worth considering as a career option. My next slide, please. Okay. A lot of people talk about this, right? OTT is where all the glamour is these days. People are talking about Netflix and chill, and it's become an integral part of pop culture with your generation. It's great to tell. It's a nice story to tell someone, right? I've got a job with Netflix or I've got a job with Amazon Prime. But what exactly does it have? I mean, now try and understand how this industry works. This industry started off. If you look at the history of Netflix actually started out renting out films to people, right? Where they could sit at home and watch films. Today it's become something much, much larger with like over 6 billion over 1 billion users across the world. It's probably it is the largest subscription business in the world, paid subscription business. But when I look at the entire industry as a whole in India, it's still pretty small, right? And that's what makes it so interesting for anyone looking at getting into this business early today. I'm saying early because it's still early days in India. We're still just at about 1,200 crores last year. So, and most of this has come from 3 platforms, which are Hotstar, Netflix, and Amazon Prime. Having said that, over the past 3 years, there were 48 new OTT players entering the market, right? And 48, that's not a small number. Everyone from Sun TV I forget the name, but all regional markets today have some kind of an OTT player. Regional language demand is actually what's going to drive this industry, because people discovering content on their phones today are not just looking for Hindi and English content, right? They're looking for something in their own language, which is what's going to fuel the growth over here. This industry has been pegged to grow at about 44% year on year for the next 5 years, but it's probably going to be way, way higher. They're beginning to look in terms of organizational structures. Most OTT platforms are slowly beginning to look a lot like traditional television channels, right? So a television channel will have a sales and marketing department. They'll have a programming and content department. They'll have syndication. They'll have general operations. These departments are actually falling into place today. 5 years from now, an Amazon Prime's organizational structure could be as big as a Star TV. And that's the number of jobs we're talking about, right? So the one big difference is the higher dependence on subscription revenue rather than advertising. But I mean, there are players like MX Player, which are completely ad funded, and there's no reason why some of these will not actually become huge behemoths in themselves. So speaking of careers, if you're doing an MBA today, or rather if you've done graduation of any kind and you're looking at doing an MBA, and I'm going to speak only about the MBA part because I understand management. Vocational courses are always available, but if management is what you want to do, it's what you want to pursue. A lot of large universities in the US offer specialization courses in media and entertainment, right? But it's a very, very new field in India. Most universities, most colleges do not offer these. DGMC is one of those few places where you can actually pursue a specialized course. Now, imagine, okay, in most of Hollywood freshers, or rather Hollywood recruits most of its freshers from these universities in the US, people who have done specialized courses in media and entertainment. This is beginning to start in India now. You're going to see more and more people like there are already people like Balaji Telefilms and all that who come and recruit people from DGMC. So this is going to even get higher and higher because every company wants to have people who enter an industry with some amount of understanding. Right now, imagine having all the tools and all the knowledge of a normal MBA or general MBA, but you also know how content is made, you know how content is sold, you know how it's distributed and marketed, you know how new technologies like AI and VR are shaping the industry. You have deep knowledge of how animation and VFX works. You have deep knowledge of how the gaming industry works. These are the kind of advantages that a course like this will actually equip you with when you enter the industry. That's all I have for you guys today. Any questions I'll be willing to take at the end of this webinar. And back to you, Saurabh. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for a very holistic and a very honest approach to the entire topic.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. I will now introduce our fourth speaker to you, and our next speaker to you. And he too has been a PGDM student at DGMC, and he passed out in 2017. So it's Mr. Varun Menon. I request the IT to please play the slide of Varun Menon as I go to introduce him. Yes. So Varun Menon was a student of DGMC, and he completed his PGDM. He was a student from 2015 to 2017. He completed his PGDM in 2017 with media and entertainment as his specialization. He began his career at Thought Process Films, where he worked as an assistant director for a multitude of digital and corporate films. He also wrote and directed comedy sketches for the production house's YouTube channel. He now works at First Post as a branded content video producer, where he produces digital content for a variety of brands. He has worked on a wide range of videos like testimonials, vox pops, brand films, animated films, to online gaming films. He has also shot and made video content for various events. I request Varun Menon to please take over the mic and share his experiences and deliver his speech. Varun? Varun, you're not audible. Can you unmute? Varun, can you hear me? Hello, Varun.
Varun has to.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
We can hear you now. Sorry for the technical.
No issues.
I would like to thank Saurabh sir, and I would like to thank Vora ma'am and Pata sir for inviting me on this webinar. As Saurabh sir mentioned, yes, I did pass out on. I'm a PGDM pass out from DGMC 2017, and I would like to tell you a little bit about. I would not like to. This will not be very long. I would like to try and keep it as short as possible. I'll tell you a little bit about why I chose to do PGDM at DGMC, a little bit about my experiences doing PGDM, and I would like to and obviously I'm no expert. I just like you all, I just graduated from college. I'm just started working. I'd like to tell you a little bit about some learnings that I learned in my time in the industry. So I'll start off with right after I started studying like college. My first year, I started studying something that I had no interest in pursuing uh, in my life. I knew that I did not want to do this. And as Anushri mentioned, that it was pretty hard convincing my parents that, you know what, I actually wanted to do something in media and in film specifically. And uh, after doing a lot of research and I realized that there was some sort of formal education I needed to basically propel me into the industry. And DGMC was something. DGMC was an institute that I felt was perfect, like this perfect for me to help me, get into the industry. Why? Because if you all have, if you go through the subjects offered, at least for PGD for PGDM at DGMC, is they cover a wide range of topics that is extremely crucial and important, uh, that every student needs to know when they basically enter the industry. And this is so an institution like an institution like DGMC and a course like PGDM is very important. Actually helps a student a lot to, propel someone right into the industry and make them industry ready as much as possible before, getting out there. um I would like to now switch to, in terms of just a little bit of the experiences that I had during PGDM, and also you as students, or as someone who plans on doing PGDM, or someone studying at DGMC would, look forward to, is you would get to meet a lot of like-minded people. Say you want to make films and you have a great idea, but you feel that maybe it could be something as you don't have a camera, or maybe you don't have good friends who are good actors. you know if you come to a college where a lot of people, like a lot of students, are trying to basically go towards the same path, it puts you in together with a lot of like-minded people, so you get to meet a lot of people who you can basically have a huge collaborative effort, and you can make a great film out of it. And that is something that I did. I managed to meet a lot of great uh, students, some of my classmates and people from the other batches who I'm still in touch with and I'm great friends with today, and we managed to make a couple of great films together. So that was one experience that I took out of PGDM. One more thing that is great, which I felt while studying PGDM at DGMC, is the invitation of great external faculty. The PGDM has always managed to get in industry stalwarts, people who basically who give the students great industry experiences in terms of stories, or just learnings that someone as a student can take into the industry later on. And obviously, with the lineup that we have today, it's pretty obvious that, this kind of information will be absolutely valuable when you go out there. One example that I have is Jayesh Mazumdar sir, who came and gave us one of a class. Was he at that time was heading the regional movie business for Viacom 18. And I don't remember exactly like the learnings he gave me, but I remember right out of college when I joined my first job, it was something that he told me that helped me at a certain problem that I had. I was working on non-fiction short format ideas for showbiz, and they actually helped me out. Something that Jayesh Mazumdar sir uh, taught me actually helped me out. So that is something that is great. I'd like to move on. So DGMC, like I said, DGMC is something. DGMC is a college that has really helped in my life and taking me towards the next step into my industry. Uh, I would just like with just a little bit of learnings that I've had in the industry. I'm no one who can teach you. Hello, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you, Varun.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Hi. I'm no expert, but I can obviously give you some. So if you're a filmmaker and you want to get out there and do films, this is something that will help you, I feel, later on in your life. So my first point is be best friends with the spot dada. You know, so a spot boy on a film is someone who basically helps out in bringing beverages to the crew, and he basically helps out in uh, different random things on a set. And it is very important. So by saying spot dada over here, I don't specifically mean the spot dada. I mean everyone out there who's helping on the set. Like filmmaking is a huge collaborative process. There's close to 40 to 60 people on set working towards uh, 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 working towards making the vision of the director, basically. And it's very important for you, you at whatever role that you play in the film, that it's important that you be friends with these people who are crucial towards making your film, because the more you treat them, the more the great relationship that you share with them is the best effort that they would put in towards realizing your idea. The second thing that I would like to say is no idea is stupid. So I remember the first, when I just got out in the industry, I used to always feel that my ideas were pretty dumb, and I would feel that people were judging me. But then I kind of realized that, you know what, it's, uh, in a brainstorming session, if you were to give out a stupid idea, it's a brainstorming session. Someone else would build up on that idea, and then someone else would build up on something else, and it could turn out to be something pretty big, you know. And when you work towards decoding briefs sent by clients, one major thing which later on you will obviously come to learn is one major point that a lot of clients send is viral hona chahiye, ye idea viral hona chahiye. It's very it's something that is so easy to write ki ye viral hona chahiye, but it's no one can think of a viral idea. You know, you need to understand that viral ideas just don't, no one sits and brainstorms towards a viral idea. It's something that just happens. And if you realize, some of the most stupidest ideas are the most viral ideas out there. So do not ever like just trash your idea because you think it's stupid. Always push it out and it'll help. My third point is referencing. It is very important to see all kinds of content out there. Do not think that this content is beneath you or it's not worth your time. Always reference, because it can obviously teach you something or show you something uh, that would help you on later. I remember something that the famous writer George R. R. Martin, the writer of A Song of Ice and Fire, has said that, you know, he's the writer of Game of Thrones, and you would assume that he sits and reads huge novels about mythological, you know, creatures and science fiction. But even he said that, you know, it's very like some of the stupidest books that he loves reading are like romantic novels. Why? Because he can learn something out of it, and he always learns something out of it. And that same logic applies to film. Always reference, always try and watch different kind of content, because you can apply it into something that you're trying to make. And my last point is always aim for 200%, because if you aim for 200%, you will get at least 100%. You know, you can, while making a film, while doing pre-production for a film, you can never be over prepared. Like there's no such thing as being over prepared for a film. Whenever you make a film, some sort of problem will always turn up. Like you can never be sure when you're making a film. Like even though if you at some point you made a film, you'll always realize that you're trying to think into the future in terms of, you know, this could be a problem, that could be a problem, and you have those problems sorted out. You have possible solutions for it. But then when you actually go on the set, you realize that there's some random other third problem that just popped out of nowhere. So always aim for 200%, and you will get 100%. This is it from me, guys. I would like to wish all of you all the best of luck and into whatever you all do in the future. And thank you, Saurabh sir and Partha sir, for having me. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Varun, for sharing your experience and your memories. And I now I'm happy to introduce Mr. Rukvet Kulkarni, who passed out of the MA FT NMP, that is MA in Film, Television and New Media Production program in 2018. So I request the IT to please go to the slide where Mr. Rukvet Kulkarni's details are given. And Mr. Rukvet Kulkarni was a student from 2016 to 2018, and he's a freelancer, he's a writer, he's a director, and he conceptualizes advertisement campaigns. He also ghost produces content. He has been an associate director at a soon to be released film with Netflix. The title, for obvious reasons, has been withheld. He's been a senior producer with MasterChef India. He's a writer director um, uh, for Geofilms, and he's a creative director for Z Ganga, rebranding currently as Big Ganga Channel. He has also won a couple of popular accolades. He's the President of India has conferred the title of Balashri in 2010 for creative writing on him, and he has been the United Nations Eurasian Youth Innuendo Ambassador since 2013. So over to you, Rugved. Please take over the mic and please deliver your speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Am I audible to everyone? Thank you, Professor Saurabh. And it's a great opportunity for me from the faculties at DGMC to make me a part of this. And I hope everyone is safely cocooned in their own homes with their loved ones right now. If I have to speak about films and filmmaking, as a filmmaker and a writer and a director, there is a word, there's an adjective associated with us people. You know, the filmmakers are watching this, and with me, obviously. We have this adjective that drives things to manifest. Filmmaking is a very glamorous profession for the outsiders, for the audience, but for us, standing under the scorching heat for 16 hours in May and sleepless nights in very cold AC rooms, this is our life cycle. And the only adjective that drives us to that is passion. It is mad, crazy passion. It's for the awards, it's for the fame, it's for your, engaging crores of people at the same time in a closed room of 500. It's for also the money, but it's passion at the end. And I am a graduate from the course Master of Arts in Film, Television, New Media Production. Listen to this carefully: film, television, and new media. This course is a complete conversion of all the media tools and vehicles they are available right now. And you, when you hear the word mastery, the master's degree, it is something about mastering craft. There must be many listeners right now who are tuned in, who are filmmakers, passionate filmmakers, YouTubers, content creators, or simply vloggers who just switch on the video cam every morning, record something, and TikTok it, Facebook it, Instagram live it. But when you have a degree, like I come from an advertising background, my degree of bachelor's is from advertising. When you come from that background where you know what you know you want to make films, you know you want to allure and captivate audiences, that is somewhere, your passion driving you forward. But it's better to be wise and skill yourself with the craft, and not just skill yourself, but rather master it. So what happens is, in filmmaking, as Mr. Varun just mentioned it, you have different facets of mastering a skill. Let me tell you, filmmaking is an art, but creating a film requires skill. And that's where your passion turns into a profession. When you try to align your art and get skilled in that, that is where your passion turns into profession. And to be a good professional, a very good professional in media and a responsible human at the end, because the word media today is has many different meanings to it. But to be a good filmmaker, to be a good media professional, and to be a good human as a media professional, it is essential for you to choose a place and your guru to guide yourself. To make a film, you need a lot of things. You need passion, as I said, you need ideas, you have dreams. But those dreams can only be manifested once you have the right wisdom and the right people to guide us. So when I just graduated fresh with, great work opportunities through advertising, I was at the cusp of deciding what I need to do with my life. Should I just simply work for a while and maybe just start working, mean some money obviously, or should I continue my education? I chose to continue my education through this master's degree is because this is a competitive world. You have YouTubers, you have content creators, you have something like TikTok with 15 odd seconds, 30 odd seconds where you need to communicate so quickly. And there are brands going onto that platform. In such a competitive world, it is essential to have that mastery of skill. Your passion drives you, your fire drives you, the money drives you, but you need to be a master of a skill. That's when I started to wonder, how about learning filmmaking as whole? Now I started to find out ways, and as a creative person, for all of us who are creative, the world is limitless. We have no boundary. But when I started looking at realistic opportunities of exploring this world of media, Mr. Nongba just mentioned in his speech, where he said something like Game of Thrones is being post-produced in India. You have a lot of content which is being point-driven through India. There are content creators across the world who are writing based in India. That's when I realized India is and has been for years a cauldron of art and tradition. It is the strongest cultural country, and just like other countries which has great history, India has a significantly uphand at that because we have languages, we have cultures, and we have people. And Mumbai being a cosmopolitan hub of this world and media, I don't need to tell you the numbers. India is the currently highest, is the greatest country and the country with the highest number of films being produced. So I decided to join DGMC since it was in Mumbai, and with the people over here, the gurus, they are not just your faculties, they turn your gurus. Even today, when I've graduated, I can simply walk into the college and speak to the faculties who guide me with whatever guidance I want. So once I started to learn in DGMC, I started developing my own content, my creatives, but then came a challenge of figuring out the management and the production about how to handle people. That's where these people, these industry experts and these gurus guide you, hold your hand through the process, and then skill you and help you hone your craft. It's not just about passion anymore, it's about your passion turning to profession. And once you're stepping out, it is your 2 years of hard work through this master's degree and the PGDM degree, which helps you captivate and bewitch millions and billions within 2 hours of your film. So with something like DGMC, a place like DGMC and the people at DGMC, this is going to be a great opportunity with the world turning and looking at India now. I expect many filmmakers and many content creators to look at DGMC as the beacon for young media creators. And that's all from me. Good luck and stay safe. I hope to see you in theaters soon.
So thank you so much, Rugved, for sharing your experiences. And now uh, I request the IT to please play the slide of Ms. Ankita Bhakhande as I go about to introduce her. Yes. So Ms. Ankita Bhatkande is a passionate writer, researcher, and an education reporter. She is currently working as a senior correspondent with the Hindustan Times, and she has worked as an education correspondent with the Mumbai Mirror and DNA. She has completed a master's in media and cultural studies from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai, and she has presented several media-related research papers in the in various national and international conferences. And she would talk about on journalism and communication as a career option for students. She will also differentiate between traditional and modern journalism and will speak on the different modes of reporting in print and digital journalism. I request Ankita madam to please take over the mic and deliver her address.
Thank you, Saurabh sir. Could I please request you to put the presentation on my slides?
Yes, the IT, please,
Yeah.
can you put the presentation of Ankita madam on?
So because we are at the end of almost at the end of the entire webinar, I think obviously a lot of us have an experience in this. The person who goes last has a lot of pressure to one finish in time and also deliver and talk whatever he or she had intended to talk. And because I know that students don't really have a larger attention span, I would keep my talk very short. So what I actually want to speak to you about is basically when we talk about careers in journalism, I want to actually address a very fundamental question at hand that a lot of students and a lot of young professionals who actually start out in journalism usually ask. Is traditional journalism even relevant today? I mean, are newspapers, are TV channels even relevant today at a time when We are getting all the information that is going around on WhatsApp on our phones, right? So we begin our day by checking our phones, and almost every day we get a lot of information on our phones, which is then obviously some is news, some is just general information, some are forwards, etc., etc. But then is it relevant? Is journalism, or is traditional journalism relevant today? Because if all of us are media producers and media consumers, right? Gone are the days when somebody actually packaged something for you and actually aired it on TV for you to see it, right? Today we are all like, when we are walking across the street, if we see something interesting, we all shoot it, we click photographs, and we circulate it on different social media platforms, right? And social messaging applications. So we are like every individual, at a time when every individual has become both a producer and a consumer of content, the challenges in front of traditional journalism or journalism in general have actually increased to a very large extent. So I would actually talk to you about that, and then in the context of then what are the career opportunities in journalism. Can you go to the next slide? So like I said, why is it that journalists and journalism are still relevant? So a lot of information, like I said, which we get on our phones is basically unfiltered information, which is why we call it information and not news, right? Because a lot of information that comes to us is unverified, first of all. Second of all, there is no, like I said, there is no verification in the whole process. And at the same time, there is no second thought given before forwarding that particular piece of information, right? The person who is actually sending out that content or information doesn't necessarily have an expertise or training in actually creating content and actually delivering content, right? So which is why journalists are actually significant, because journalists today, and the role of journalists today is actually to convert this information into news or news stories, right? By putting all the right filters in place, which is why I think that traditional journalism, whatever comes and goes, even when we have a proliferation of digital media, even if technology is basically at an all-time high, we still think that newspapers and our TV are still relevant, right? Next slide. So this is a very nice quote that I usually really like, and a lot of my students also usually like this quote, because it actually tells us what the real purpose of journalism is, right? So like I said, journalism is not only about giving people information, but it also is closely associated with the lives of people, right? Because as a print journalist, I'm actually dealing with people every day. I'm talking to them. I'm actually delivering their stories to the entire world, right? So the responsibility that rests with me as a journalist is actually more than anything else, right? So which is why, like I said, becoming a journalist is not like any other career. First, you need to question yourself, and first you need to ask yourself, do you have the necessary skill and do you have the necessary urge to actually get into a career which doesn't really promise you a big package, so to speak, because unlike marketing or unlike all the other fancy occupations, you don't really go in journalism, or you don't take up journalism only because of big paychecks or fat paychecks. You go there because you have an urge to make a difference. You have an urge to talk to people, to communicate their issues. And in general, as Amita madam actually rightly pointed out, the world is actually talking and moving towards critical elements, right? We are actually talking about critical skills of students who question things, students who raise important and pertinent questions, and then who come up with possible solutions to those questions, which is why I think people who are interested in that kind of an approach to job in general should actually look at journalism as a profession. Next slide. So broadly, there are three different areas in which traditional journalism usually operates. One is obviously print that I work in and I have an experience in. So it includes newspapers, magazines, periodicals. Then there is broadcast, which is television. And then there is digital, which is online news platforms, blogs, news portals, etc. Now, in each of these three different modes of or mediums of journalism and communication, there are a lot of opportunities in terms of jobs. If you want to actually look at print, for instance, you have reporters or journalists who actually go on field and who collect information about important happenings and important events, right? Most newsrooms have specialized reporters for each and every different, what we call as beat, right? So a beat is usually a specific area in which each journalist works. It's an area of specialization. So I, for instance, work in the field of education. So it's my beat. Education is my beat. in addition to reporters and journalists, actually, because a lot of us who have not really seen what real journalism is all about, our understanding of journalism comes from popular depiction of reporters on TV, right? We usually see a reporter standing there with a mic and basically talking about things and giving out information. But journalism is not limited to what we see on television, right? Or journalism is not limited to just giving out information or just communicating. It's a lot more than that, right? The whole process that begins from actually looking for that content and looking for those stories, to actually packaging those stories in a format which will be actually easily accessible to the reader, to finally delivering it. So there are a lot of stages that are usually there in this whole process of news delivery or content delivery. And we usually see only the end product, that is the news story which is printed in the newspaper, or the, like I said, television news that we usually see. Or we see a lot of anchors on television, and we think that this seems like a very fairly easy job, right? You just have to sit and you have to moderate a discussion. But it is obviously not a very easy job, because like everyone, all of the speakers mostly said that you need to actually read a lot. You actually need to know what's happening all around you. Journalism is not restricted to knowing about your a certain theoretical framework within journalism studies or within your BMM or within your MBCJ. But in that course, what is significant is what are the learnings that you take, right? So mostly a lot of news organizations do not really stress on you having a degree in order to be able to give a job to you, right? So nobody will actually ask if you have a degree or a bachelor's or a master's degree in journalism before actually offering a job to you, as long as you have the drive to actually go on field and do stories that you like doing, right? But a good journalism degree or a good journalism education actually helps you later. So if at all you land into a good job, for example, in a newspaper outlet or in a television channel, or even as an intern somewhere, the process that comes later after you are employed there is actually very difficult. And for that process, actually journalism education is going to drive you, and it's going to be important, because that involves a lot of research, a lot of writing, a lot of understanding of what news is and what news stories are, a lot of understanding of the technology, because today, like I said, we can't ignore technology at all, right? So even if we are print journalists, we are all today multimedia journalists, because we are also writing for the newspaper. But at the same time, today, a lot of young generation today, they can't wait for 24 hours or 12 hours to actually see that story appearing in that newspaper, right? So like I said, we are all on our phones today. We are all checking news applications, etc. So for that, even a print reporter has to also file stories online, right? Even a print reporter is expected to click photographs of whatever is happening or whatever he or she is writing about, right? So multimedia journalism is something that you need to actually look out for when we talk about the future of journalism per se. But that multimedia journalism doesn't necessarily mean you only click photos and videos, right? It also demands, like I said, a fair amount of understanding of what news is in the first place. Who are the people who you want to talk to? What are the ethics that are involved in talking to people, right? How do you talk, or how do you approach those subjects? Because like I said, the responsibility that that is associated with this job is really, really very high, right? Next. So if we talk about qualifications and necessary prerequisites, like I said, there are no news organization would mostly ask you for a certificate or a degree. But at the same time, there are multiple ways in which you can actually approach journalism as a profession. So first thing is, you can either do a bachelor degree, like a BA, like a plain BA. So from my own experience, I really like political science. So I did my BA in political science from Ruia College, and I got gold medal at the University of Mumbai. And a lot of people suggested, why don't you do BMM? But BMM is also an equally interesting option. So either a BA or a BMM at the graduate level, or some universities also offer BJMC, which is the Bachelor of Journalism and Mass Communication, right? Now, a lot of people, a lot of young graduates that we usually see in our newsrooms who come as interns, we feel that at the BMM level or at the BA level, usually their understanding about issues or their understanding about writing, reading in general is very preliminary in nature, because obviously you have not seen the real world, as people call it, right? Or you don't have enough exposure, like I said, to real situations or to the industry, right? As a result of which an MA or a master's degree is actually more useful and helpful if you are really clear that you want to actually pursue a career in journalism, whether it is print, whether it is TV, whether it's digital, or even if it's like specialized careers like radio, for example, right? So even for the masters, there are multiple options. So a plain MA usually is not recommended, because a plain MA I mean, you can land into a job only with a plain MA, but then, like I said, the process that comes later will be slightly difficult. That transition will not be as smooth as something like an MACJ, for example, right? So MACJ is a very, very good curriculum and a course. It's a Master of Arts in Communication and Journalism. So at DGMC also, where I teach social science research design to MACJ students, I see their whole transition and I see the arc throughout the semester. When they come, what happens is they are actually interested in learning a lot about media, and when they see that there is a convergence between industry and the theoretical part of it, students usually find it very easy to understand things, right? So if so we give a lot of practical assignments. So I actually send them on field to do stories, to do reporting, to compile a lot of reports, right? To do first person accounts, to actually shoot videos, right? Irrespective of what media they want to work with, right? So that is fairly important. So even when irrespective of what specialization or what master's degree you're doing, what is important is what you do in that process, or what you do over these 2 years when you are a master's student, right? If you are only focusing on theory and only focusing on passing that particular exam and getting that prestigious certificate, it will not really help you in the long run, because that opportunity of learning in those 2 years will be lost, right? So I have seen a lot of bright students when I'm teaching in DGMC and elsewhere, where people actually students are actually very ambitious at the master's level itself. They want to do multiple internships, they want to get a lot of opportunity, right? Mostly internships that are offered in media are usually unpaid in nature. That's something that I really want to clarify, because like I said, this is probably in the entire media segment, it seems as the most glamorous job, but it's actually the least glamorous job, right? Because what you see on television, like I said, is only one part or one figment of the entire discourse of media that is usually there. And then obviously, like I said, if you are really clear and if you're really sure about doing something in film and television, then there are also more specialized courses like MAFT, like a lot of students spoke about their experiences. So that's something that is, like I said, these are the available options. But then a lot of students who I also meet, and a lot of successful journalists also, have usually done their graduation in some other subject, right? Some of them are engineers, some of them have done their graduation in science or commerce, and then they think that they are really interested in writing, they're really interested in communication, and then they take up a diploma course or a diploma program, right? So which is why I think even a diploma is fair enough for you to basically get a basic idea about what are the opportunities and what are the ways in which you can actually learn the basic skills that are required for media or media production. Next slide. Now, skills required. So like I said, I remember one of my professors, when I was actually looking out for a job, she said that you remember one thing, that as a journalist and as a reporter, you will be at the lowest rung of the hierarchy in the entire media space, right? Because there will be no consideration about work timings, right? There will be no, it's not a 9-to-5 job at all. You can't really stick to any specific routine as such. There is no predictability. You don't know what is going to happen even in that particular day, right? So in the morning, you might plan your day nicely, afternoon some assignment might come up and you might be in some other part of the city altogether, right? So if you are actually willing to take up a job like this, which is challenging, but at the same time 10 times more interesting than any other office job or any other profession, then journalism is definitely for you. So one very, very fundamental thing is reading and understanding, like I said. So when we were in school and college, a lot of our teachers would tell us, read newspapers, right? But today, when I go and when I speak to students at an undergraduate level and even at a postgraduate level, I find that most students don't have access to newspapers also, because they don't get newspapers in their homes, right? They only read stuff online, right? Even if they read newspapers, it's only digital, right? So in whatever format and in whatever way you want to read about what is happening, it's fine, as long as you are actually well versed with what's happening. You know what is happening in the country and around you, right? So first thing is basically coming out of your comfort zone, right? And acknowledging and understanding the fact that the world that is there around you is not limited to the shell that you are in, right? Or is not limited to the universe of privilege that you are a part of, right? There are people who are slightly less privileged than you. There are people who need help in terms of basic things or fundamental requirements. And as a journalist, then how do you address and how do you basically bring those questions and bring those issues in the public domain, right? As a reporter, your job is not to solve problems, but to highlight problems, right? And be critical about the issues that are there in the society. Second is basically a flair in writing and across three mediums, because basic writing is obviously very, very important, because obviously for print, you actually write your own stories. So a lot of newsrooms most newsrooms have desk journalists, right? So these are actually people who actually process the stories that you send, that reporters send, right? So there's a proper news desk that is there, and these are all skilled people also with some journalism degree in most cases, who actually look at your content, who actually look at your story, and who are in a position to basically make some basic fixes to your story, right? But if your story does not have the fundamental information in place, right, that news desk is not going to be of any help to you, because these are people who are actually sitting in one office, right, who are actually sitting in one place and who are actually going to only look at your story from the grammatical perspective, or in general if everything is in sync, right? So as a reporter, there is no excuse to basically bad writing or not knowing how to write, right? I've seen a lot of people who come from very, very low economic backgrounds or even vernacular backgrounds, who in the beginning, when they enter a newsroom, they are so fascinated by the whole idea, but at the same time, it's so challenging for them to actually put down their thoughts on paper, right? But over the years, I've seen them learn. And that's a considerable amount of learning, and irrespective of age. So I know somebody who is actually one of the best railway reporters in the city and this country. He actually comes from a vernacular background. He actually used to work with a vernacular newspaper, and then he moved to an English newspaper. And he would take English speaking classes every day to learn basic English, right? For him to be able to write a basic story. But why did the news organization employ him? Just because he couldn't write well, he was not denied that job, right? He was employed because he had experience, and B, he also had willingness to learn and adapt to that situation, right? Now that's something that's really important as a journalist, because there's no saying no in any place and at any point, right? Third thing is, like I said, ability to multitask. So multitask doesn't necessarily mean doing 10 things at the same time, but in general, actually having multiple skills and developing those skills to such an extent that you can actually do it very well, right? Knowing basics of camera, for example, knowing basics of video production, basics of editing, even if you're a print reporter, is actually very helpful. So if you even look at all our designations, a few years ago, old journalists who probably could not even relate to this whole change in the circumstance and situation. So they were all called correspondents, senior correspondents, principal correspondents, etc. But over the last few years, a very drastic change has been brought about, because we are all multimedia journalists, right? One journalist is actually, like I said, expected to collect information, to collate that particular information, give it or file it for print, for print copies, at the same time release it for web immediately, so that even the web readers can actually have access to those stories. At the same time, probably if I am at a spot, I won't have to wait for a photographer to come there, right? So we all have photographers in all our newsrooms, but if something is happening right in front of my eyes, if I wait for a photographer and if that event doesn't really remain the way it is, then it is of no use even if the photographer comes later, right? So I have to actually apply my mind, and I also need, like I said, the necessary skills that are required for this multimedia functionality of reporting. So something like Mojo is very, very common, especially in TV journalism, where actually one reporter has actually taken place of 3 to 4 technicians plus a reporter. So that reporter is also shooting, he's also interviewing people, he's also collecting information, probably also packaging all that information himself, right? And also writing the script that is basically being shown on TV, right? So all of these things are basically being done by one person now, right? Then, like I said, ability to chase deadlines, work in fast-paced environment. Now, this is a very, very generic statement that we are thrown at as students, right? Any job or any organization that you go to, obviously everybody will tell you that it's not easy, right? And it requires, any job or any vocation for that matter, requires an amount of sincerity and readiness to basically look at deadlines and basically follow them through. But especially in journalism, because there is no waiting, right? If you miss on something, if you miss filing something, or if you miss getting that alert on your phone, and if you don't act or if you don't react in that particular time frame, an opportunity is lost. Nobody is going to wait for you to basically understand, acknowledge situations, right? Because there's so much competition all around you. And now that competition is not limited to 4 or 5 major newspapers or 4 or 5 television channels. All of you, all the consumers of media are now our competition, right? Because anybody can actually do a Facebook Live before we go on the field and before we show what is happening to the viewers, right? So that is something that is really important. Then, like I said, good communication skills. You should be able to talk to people. And communication skills doesn't necessarily mean talking at conferences and talking to editors. Communication skills means talking to people, because ultimately, like I said, the real people who you are dealing with are the people on the streets, are the people with minimum means, right? Are the marginalized people whose issues you want to highlight. So talking how in a way that they understand, and talking in the way in which that problem basically is highlighted to the fullest. That's something that is an important skill. Next. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah. So what kind of institutes should you look at, right? Now we all get bombarded by advertisements by so many big colleges, so many big organizations who basically have their own colleges, right? But what is it? I'm not going to tell you what college to go to, right? So like I said, MACJ is a very good course, and DGMC, and we have seen students basically owning their skills over time. But these are the things which makes that college interesting, right? First thing, like I said, is recognition and affiliation, right? So especially in Mumbai, if you're looking at a college in Mumbai or in Maharashtra, you should look at affiliation with University of Mumbai if you are looking for a traditional media course, right? Second thing is, like I said, experienced faculty and industry presence. So usually all colleges have sophisticated websites where they actually put details of all the faculty who teach there. So they have their in-house faculty as well as people who basically come as visiting faculty or guest lecturers. Google them. You have internet at the tip of your fingertips, right? So you can actually look at the profiles of all these people, what is the kind of work that they are doing, right? All of that. And then you can actually decide on which college to pick. At the same time, you should also look at studio. So Ami ma'am actually said that there's a very sophisticated studio at DGMC, right? That is something that is required when you're looking at a career in television, right? Because that is the space where you actually get practical experience of how to shoot videos, right? What is production? Like I said, good mix of theory and practice, and like I said, good library, because you ultimately want to also read, right? Next slide.
Ankita madam, I request you to please wind up, because we are really very short of time and we still have one more speaker to go. So a very humble request, madam, please wind up, and so that we can have the question and answer session in our.
Sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, so like I said, opportunities in future, there are a lot of opportunities in terms of, like I said, multimedia reporting is something that is basically going to see a lot of growth in the next few years. At the same time, a lot of independent media portals, right? So a lot of people are now, like I said, without any investment and without actually owning any big channel or any big news organization, they can actually start a YouTube channel without actually having to spend any money on it, right? So you should check this YouTube channel called Gully News. They are doing some really local, hyper-local journalism, right? They are actually looking at small issues at a local level in Mumbai, and they are actually quite popular on the internet and on YouTube. So since, like I said, media jobs are dependent on skills and experience, where you study and what you study, both these things are relevant. And what you do, like I said, in the whole process of these 2 years of your course is something that is actually going to help you in the long run. That is it. You can go to the next slide. Yes.
Thank you very much, Ankita madam, and we're very sorry we had to cut down your time, but then since we're short of time, as a journalist, you know how important time is, and we have a tight schedule to run now. What I am going to do is so your I must say your presentation and address was both delightful as well as informative, madam. I will now call on the mic a final speaker for the day, another alumnus of DGMC, this time from the MACJ, that is Master of Arts in Communication and Journalism, batch of 2016 to 2018, Ms. Seema Tiwari. May I request the IT to please put on the slide of Ms. Seema Tiwari. So Ms. Seema Tiwari has worked as a broadcast journalist with several popular channels. She is an independent fact checker and a journalist, and is a Google News Initiative certified trainer and fact checker. In fact, she has worked with various news organizations in India as well as in foreign countries, and she's a communication professional with more than 18 years of experience as a journalist in broadcast media. Plus, she is a teacher. She is a visiting faculty and gives lectures in several colleges on journalism, media, and communication. So, over to you, Seema madam. I request you to please take over the mic.
Thank you so much, Saurabh sir. And it really feels great to listen to you, to listen to our principal ma'am, to listen to all the friends, Rugved, and many more people whom we had shared our college space, our classroom, our campaigns, our projects, our ideas. Thank you to Partha sir for always being there for us whenever we want any help. And overall, my experience with DGMC was super and it was great. As a student of DGMC, I enjoyed my 2 years, and those 2 years were really special 2 years of my life. Why? Because I made a lot of friends, and those friends continue to be my friends till date. And during these 2 years, what made me go to DGMC was that I wanted to learn something really new, what is happening in journalism as a student. So when I took this admission in DGMC in 2016, I passed out in 18. I did research in my last semester, and that research really gave me a new cue to get in a new kind of job that I was looking for. That was of fact checking news. In 2018, in last semester, that was the time when we were given a research topic called like with our guides, and a lot of things were happening. So my topic for research was fake news. So Facebook upgrading ground for fake news was my research topic. And gradually what happened, I did so well that Google News Initiative, my research was in there, and they somehow I got into touch with people, and I ended up doing this workshop with Google News Initiative, and I got a certificate of Google Certified Fact Checker and Trainer. So now I go out and give training to the undergraduates, to the postgraduates, to the corporates, that what is the meaning of fact checking, what is fake news. So this is something that is really happening, is trending now. It is a big career opportunity for all those students, because Ankita has spoken a lot and in detail about the career opportunities, the kind of lessons we have to learn. Of course, good reading will help to good writing, good listening will help to good talking. So all these are techniques that we have to inbuilt as a student. And these are for all the students who are listening to us right now, that you have to have this habit of good reading. It leads to good writing, good listening, it leads to good talking. So in career opportunities today, of course, online is really going to happen. It has taken a big turn, in journalism, actually it has taken a big turn. And first it was like, I'm a reporter, I'm a correspondent. No, as Ankita mentioned, we are multimedia people. And we actually have to have the knowledge of all the tools, not from only writing, editing, but also publishing it. So I
Right,
agree with
Seema. Yeah, Seema ji, I again hate to just interrupt this talk of yours. It's very interesting, but we are really running on a very tight schedule. We have exceeded the duration. And now what I'll do is, first I must thank you for your inputs and sharing your experiences as an industry person from journalism. What I request now is to, I request to my colleague Professor Dolly Avti to please take over the mic and moderate the question and answer session. We shall immediately have the Q&A session. And I must remind everybody to please fill up the feedback form that will be shared in the chat box, or the link that will be shared in the chat box. And then you will get your e-certificate after you fill in the feedback form. So over to you, Dolly madam. Please take over the mic.
Thank you, Saurabh sir. I am sure that it was indeed a very interesting, informative, and inspiring session for all the participants. As the webinar is now open for Q&A, and we have received a lot of interesting questions, but due to shortage of time, I may precisely have one or two questions from for each of our panelists. I will first like to invite our first speaker, Dr. Amita Sehgal, for the questionnaires. Amita ma'am, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, ma'am. So one of our participants has asked that what are the post
I could not hear you.
advertising and okay, ma'am. I'm repeating my question. Am I audible?
Yes, now you're audible.
Okay. What are the various placement opportunities post COVID for advertising and media students?
I think your question, again, your voice got blurred. So what I understand is that you're asking for career opportunities in advertising and media post-COVID. Is that the
Yes,
question?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I think our experts from the industry have given a lot of inputs regarding that, and they may have already got the answer. So I think we can move to the second question, because after my talk, we had some industry experts who spoke about gaming, animation, OTT channels. So there are a lot of things that I want to.
Few students were specific interested in advertising, so that's why I gave you this question.
Yeah, sure. So advertising, brand building will always be there as a career option. Media planning will always be there as a career option, whether it is post COVID, and also your creativity, the coming up with ideation and visualization. Those will always be traditional careers, and they will continue after COVID also. But something unique will happen is that, as I mentioned, the human behavior and the brand loyalty factor, like the one which what Amul is doing now, those will become more prominent. How to connect with consumers in real time through Twitter, Instagram, and to allow the brand loyalty factor to increase. That would be definitely a focus post COVID, because brands will become really important, which have stood by the consumers at this time. So we will definitely see that trend, that the consumers will be loyal to brands that have stood by them during this time.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, next question to you is one of our participant has asked that why media course is not included in the regular curricula of students. What is your opinion on this?
So the media course, are they asking for undergraduate students or postgraduate students?
In regular studies, like normally, I think so at the school
BCom,
and even at the college level. Yeah.
at the BCom level, because
School and both college level.
BCom, yeah, because you see, media course is a specialized course, and it is not a general course. BCom is a degree which is a more general degree for giving the foundation in various subjects to students. Now, once the students have a foundation, they then understand what should they specialize in. Media studies is a specialization, and that is why it is not offered in a general course at the school or college level, undergraduate level.
Ma'am, final question. One question by Vikram Seth. He has asked that he is currently pursuing BCom. Because it's a specific BCom question, so I thought I will ask you.
Yes,
He is
please.
currently pursuing BCom. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah.
So this question has been asked by Vikram Seth. He is currently pursuing BCom and he plans to take on-ground experience in his last year now, so that he can figure out for his masters and understand what is going to be the best suited profession for him. Do you think it is going to be an issue to get good work post COVID and due to the cost cutting and recession period, which is foresighted by all?
Um, well, as I mentioned to you, there is going to be a game changer. There will be a new normal. So things will be different from what it is now. But adapting to the new change will be the key to success. So the students will have to adapt to new skills. They will have to learn to work from home, learn to work from anywhere. They'll have to be savvy about digital transformation. So keeping the old skills and the old attitudes, they may find it difficult to find career opportunities. So they will have to reskill themselves. So you can't just say, I'm doing a BCom course and now I will get a career, I'll get a job. It won't be that simple.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for answering the questions. Thank you so much. I will now move to my next panelist. Is Sandeep sir there?
May I add one more thing to this?
Yes,
To
ma'am,
my
sure.
question. On a positive note, Vikram, I think you are on the right track. That you're attending this webinar. I think that is a very positive note that you have step you have taken. So by attending the webinar, I'm sure you have understood the various options available. And COVID has thrown open a lot of opportunities in the media industry. I think Vishal's presentation is very important, and you should remember the points from there, that the digital media and the entertainment and animation and gaming industry, these are growing at a exponential level, more than even the GDP of the country. So please do have hope and stay positive on this. After getting the inputs from the webinar, and courses like offered by the institute will definitely equip you and give you the skills. You see, this institute has been able to get alumni to work in major multinational companies and major media houses. So the list is there on the website for you to check out the placements. But Vikram, you continue to be positive about a career in media and communication.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your useful insights. Now I'll move to my next panelist, Vishal sir. These are the questions for you. So one of our participants had asked, after this COVID-19, am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Okay. After this COVID-19, what to expect with theaters? Are they going to be profitable compared to OTT platforms?
Yeah, so I've answered that question on chat over there. See, the thing is, no one knows, right? I mean, a lot of theater owners are looking at different ways of running movies post-COVID. They're talking about social distancing within theaters. Some people are talking about drive-in theaters being the future, where, currently India only has 2 drive-in theaters, but in the US, there are already theaters that are open and they're all drive-in theaters. So someone can go with their car, with their family, and watch movies even now with social distancing going on. No one knows what the exact future is going to look like, but I don't think theaters are going away. I think what's going to happen is that you will see degrowth in terms of there will be some amount of consolidation. It's going to get even tougher for single screens to survive in this market. You'll see a lot more consolidation, a lot more buyouts of smaller theaters. But that experience of going to a theater and watching a film with your family is not going to go away. What will impact the industry as a whole is that smaller films will start looking at digital releases, because it's going to be a lot more profitable. If the number of people going to theaters is smaller, it putting your film, let's say it's a small film, it's been launched on a small platform, it might not be very profitable to put a film like that into a theater when you're competing with a bunch of large films and there's a very, very small number of people coming in, right? The direct to digital thing is actually going to go higher. OTT will benefit from this. Theaters will have to reinvent themselves. You'll probably find them finding other ways of making money. I think the first big shift happened when revenues moved from ticketing, or rather, I should put it this way, that a larger chunk of revenues today comes from selling of popcorn than tickets, right? So that was the first big shift in that industry. You're going to see a few others going forward. They will have to present it as an experience, a larger experience, a family experience over just a film. So yeah, theaters will exist, but it will change.
Thank you, sir. So next question for you is from a YouTube participant. He has asked, how can we create followers engaging with brand?
I don't think I can answer that right now in a couple of sentences. It's something that people learn over years, right? So creation of followers, if it was that easy, everybody would have been an influencer today. So there are lots of things you can do, but not within the scope of, I can't answer that right now. It's just, go do a course in digital marketing, understand how the entire ecosystem works. You don't have to do an MBA. You can do a specialized digital marketing course, forget YouTube, learn how TikTok works, learn how Instagram works, learn how these platforms work, figure out how this can work for you, and you may still never become an influencer. So there's a bunch of other things that go into it, and no one can explain why anyone or why a certain video goes viral.
So one final question. One participant has specifically asked us ki what are the various basic qualification required to enter the gaming industry?
I think I have answered these
You
on
have
the
answered
chat
this?
thing again. Yeah.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
mean, it depends. See, the gaming industry, if you're joining a gaming company, right, you can join in sales and marketing. You can be a coder. You could be an animator. You could be a data scientist, right? If you want to know which is the most lucrative part of lucrative career within gaming today, it's data sciences. Unfortunately, I don't think anyone really offers that in India, but data sciences is the future. Data sciences is whatever artificial intelligence goes into gaming is actually purely driven by the data sciences team. They actually look at user behavior and make the game learn over a period of time, right? So if I look at a game like Candy Crush, if let's say you are playing level 59 and I'm playing level 59, what you will see on your screen will be very different from what I see on my screen. Why? Because that game has learned over 58 previous levels what I find tough versus what you find tough. And that is what data sciences does.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Can I move to my next panelist? I think so. Sandeep sir has messaged me on the chat box. Sandeep sir, are you there? Okay, then I'll move to my next panelist, Ankita ma'am.
Yes. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, ma'am. One of the participant has asked me a question. Just a second. What are the various format? How are the formats of journalism changing?
So I think we have fairly addressed it. I mean, we have said that we are now going towards a multi-form journalism, like I said, multimedia journalism. So format, more or less, we can say that the traction is more on digital now than it was for print and TV. But in general, traditional media, the basic tenets and the basic functionality of traditional media is more or less the same. The changes are actually happening in the digital space.
Okay, ma'am. One final question. How should one pursue a job or internship in good reputed institute as a journalist?
There is no formula, so to speak. I mean, we all get through internships by trial and error mostly. So what is actually important is basically building a good CV over time, and a good CV at a student level will not be obviously your experience, but would also involve skills that you have basically honed over the last few years, right? So basically putting across your CV to as many media outlets and as many editors as possible, approaching them on various platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. Apart from email, which is usually the traditional route, usually having a profile. So if you have already interned somewhere and if you have already done a few stories for multiple media outlets or one particular media outlet, if you have got a byline for it, then usually there are usually websites like Contently, which usually allow you to actually upload your profile. It's almost like your entire biodata in that one click, right? So you see all the stories together. So you can send that link to your prospective employer for them to actually notice you or take note of you. So that is a thing. I mean, there's no formula to it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I will request all our participants to please fill in the feedback form which is displayed in the webinar chat. May I now request? Hello, hello. Am I audible? May I now request my colleague Professor Selvi to please propose the vote of thanks?
Yeah, before we go on to Professor Selvi, I just want to inform everybody that the feedback form link will remain live for half an hour after the webinar ends. So please make a note of it. But I still request everybody to fill it up as early as they can. So over to you, Professor Selvi.
Tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. I consider it a privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this very special live webinar. I take this opportunity to place on record my heartfelt thanks to our Honorable Chairman, Shri Ashok Ji Saraf, our Honorable Secretary and Trustee, Shri Kailash Kejriwal Ji, our Honorable Donor and Trustee, Shri Sajjan Kumar Goenka Ji, our honorable donor and trustee, Shri Narendra Goenka ji, and the entire management of Rajasthani Sammelan Education Trust for the magnanimity they have shown in facilitating the organization of this beautiful event, which is completely student-centric. I express my sincere thanks to our principal, Dr. Ami Vohra, for the passion she has shown right from the ideation till this very moment of implementation of this webinar, motivating and inspiring each of us immensely. I extend my deepest gratitude to our distinguished speakers, Dr. Amita Sehgal, Mr. Vishal Nongweth, Mr. Sandeep Tarkas, and Ms. Ankita Bhatkande for gracing this webinar with their extensive knowledge and valuable guidance. I appreciate our lovely alumni, Anushka Shetty, Varun Menon, Rugved Kulkarni, and Seema Tiwari for sharing their professional experience with the viewers and sparing their valuable time for their alma mater. I'm profoundly grateful to the Internal Quality Assurance Cell Organizing Committee constituting Professor Dolly Avati, Professor Saurabh Deshpande, Professor Partha Samantha, Ms. Sunita Kodiro, Ms. Geetanjali Vani, and every teaching, non-teaching staff for their excellent involvement and willingness to take on the completion of tasks beyond their comfort zones. I thank Mr. Ranjit Goraksha, General Manager of IT, and his team for the enormous support they have provided. I also thank our sales and marketing heads, Mr. Kamal Bhaktani and Mr. Vikash Ahuja, for helping us curate the entire webinar. My wholehearted thanks are due to Aditya Bangera and his team from PV and Astha and Lavina and team from Insomniacs for helping us out in designing the e-banner and brochure and our social media post and design. A special thanks to Professor Saurabh Deshpande for doing a wonderful job as Master of Ceremony today, and to Professor Dolly Avati for brilliantly facilitating the question and answer session. And lastly, a very big thank you to all of you participants, to all of you viewers for being such an amazing and interactive audience. Before signing off, there are two gentle reminders I'd like my dear audience to take note of. Do fill in the feedback form, 1. 2, do register your names for tomorrow's web rendezvous, Unlock Young Minds, Gen Next, same time. Hope to see you all tomorrow. Bye for now with Ralph Marston's words. What you do today can improve all your tomorrows. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
So much.
Bye. Bye, Vishal.
Bye.
Wonderful presentation, Vishal.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Vishal, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Ankita. Thank you, Seema.
Yeah, okay. See you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.